One tiny mistake could destroy an entire pirate ship. Not a cannonball, not a storm, not even the Royal Navy. It was rats. Thousands of them. They ate the crew's food, chewed through ropes, spread disease, and turned months-long voyages into nightmares. Then pirates found the perfect solution: cats. But these weren't just pets. They became some of the most respected and most superstitious members of the crew. So why did pirates become so obsessed with cats? The answer has less to do with affection and more to do with survival. When most people picture pirates, they imagine dramatic sword fights, buried treasure, and bottles of rum clinking together on the deck of a ship. Movies make pirate life look adventurous, almost glamorous, but the truth was much uglier. Life at sea was filthy. Pirate ships were overcrowded. Sometimes more than 100 people lived together on a ship that wasn't much bigger than a modern house. There was almost no privacy, very little fresh water, and barely enough room to sleep. The smell alone was enough to make most people sick. Salt water soaked everything, food spoiled quickly, and the crew often wore the same clothes for months. And hidden beneath the deck was an enemy that never slept: rats. Every time a ship docked at a port, rats found a way aboard. They hid inside barrels of grain, climbed into crates of supplies, or simply scampered up the ropes connecting the ship to the dock. The pirates rarely noticed them until they were already far out at sea. By then, it was too late. Those few rats quickly became dozens, then hundreds. Rats reproduce incredibly fast, and a pirate ship was the perfect home. It was warm, packed with food, and full of tiny hiding places where people couldn't reach them. Every day, the problem grew worse. The crew could hear scratching beneath the floorboards while they tried to sleep. They'd wake up to find holes chewed through bags of food. Hard biscuits, the one food sailors could count on lasting for months, were covered in bite marks and droppings. Salted meat disappeared overnight. Even candles, leather boots, and clothing weren't safe from hungry rats. But the biggest problem wasn't what they ate, it was what they destroyed. A sailing ship depended on hundreds of feet of rope. Every sail, every anchor, and every important piece of equipment relied on strong ropes holding everything together. Rats constantly gnawed on those ropes to keep their teeth sharp. One weakened rope during a storm could mean disaster. Imagine trying to control a massive ship in hurricane-force winds while one of your main sails suddenly comes crashing down because a rat had been chewing through the rigging for weeks. That wasn't just inconvenient, it could be deadly. Then there was disease. Pirates didn't understand bacteria. They didn't know about germs or viruses, but they noticed something terrifying. Where rats gathered, people got sick. A sailor would develop a fever, another would become too weak to work. Before long, half the crew might be coughing, vomiting, or unable to stand. Whether rats were responsible or not, pirates blamed them for nearly everything that went wrong on board. To them, rats weren't just pests, they were bad luck. So the crew fought back. They built simple traps, they chased rats with sticks, they stomped on them whenever they saw one. Some pirates even paid crew members extra for every rat they killed. It didn't matter. For every rat that disappeared, another seemed to take its place. The problem was impossible for humans to solve alone. Then came an animal that had been hunting rats for thousands of years: the cat. Nobody knows exactly when the very first cat boarded a ship, but sailors had been bringing them to sea long before the golden age of piracy began. Merchant ships, fishing boats, and naval vessels all discovered the same thing. A single cat could do what an entire crew couldn't. Cats slipped through tiny gaps beneath the deck, where humans couldn't fit. They hunted quietly during the night while the rats were most active. They climbed into cargo holds, squeezed behind barrels, and stalked their prey with incredible patience. Unlike traps, they never needed to be reset. Unlike poison, they couldn't accidentally contaminate the crew's food. And unlike exhausted sailors, cats never seemed to give up. It didn't take long for pirates to realize just how valuable they were. Every rat a cat caught meant more food for the crew. Every nest it destroyed protected valuable supplies. Every night the scratching beneath the deck became a little quieter. To a pirate captain, that wasn't just convenient. It could be the difference between returning home with enough food to survive or watching the crew slowly starve before reaching land. That's when cats stopped being ordinary animals. They became members of the crew. Some pirate ships gave their cats names, others allowed them to roam freely wherever they pleased. Unlike many sailors, cats weren't expected to follow orders. They slept where they wanted, wandered the deck whenever they pleased, and seemed completely unaware that they were surrounded by some of the most dangerous people on Earth. Strangely enough, the pirates respected that. In fact, many sailors admired cats because they seemed fearless. Loud cannon fire didn't always scare them. Storms often didn't bother them. While the crew panicked during rough seas, a ship's cat might simply curl up in a dry corner and go back to sleep. To pirates living in a world filled with danger and uncertainty, that calm behavior almost seemed magical. And before long, people began believing cats could do far more than hunt rats. They believed cats could predict the future. The more time pirates spent at sea, the more they started paying attention to the strange behavior of their cats. Sometimes, a cat that was normally relaxed would suddenly become restless for no obvious reason. It would pace across the deck, refuse to settle down, or hide deep inside the ship. Not long afterward, dark clouds would roll in, the wind would pick up, and a violent storm would crash into the ship. Of course, pirates had no way of explaining this. Today, scientists believe cats may be able to sense changes in air pressure, vibrations, or even distant thunder before humans notice anything unusual. But hundreds of years ago, pirates didn't know any of that. Instead, they believed their cats could predict the future. If the ship's cats started acting strangely, many sailors immediately became nervous. Some captains delayed setting sail, while others prepared the ship for rough weather because they trusted the cat's instincts more than the clear blue sky above them. Whether the cats were actually predicting storms or simply reacting to changes in the environment, nobody could say for certain. But after enough coincidences, the story spread from ship to ship. Soon, almost every sailor had heard them. Then came the black cats. Even today, black cats have a strange reputation. Some people believe they're unlucky, while others think they bring good fortune. But during the Age of Sail, those beliefs became even more complicated. In many ports throughout Britain and parts of Europe, sailors actually considered black cats incredibly lucky. Some families even kept black cats at home because they believed the animal would protect loved ones while they were away at sea. A black cat walking towards a sailor before a voyage could be seen as a sign of good fortune. But there was another belief that frightens many crews. If a ship's cat suddenly abandoned the vessel before it sailed, sailors thought disaster was waiting somewhere out on the ocean. Think about it from their perspective. Cats almost never left a ship willingly. They had food, shelter, and no predators. So if the cat suddenly jumped overboard and disappeared while the ship was still in port, many sailors believed it was escaping something they couldn't see. Some crews refused to leave the harbor after seeing it happen. Others insisted on finding another cat before continuing their journey. Looking back today, it sounds like pure superstition. But when your life depended on surviving unpredictable storms, disease, and mumps at sea, people looked for signs anywhere they could find them. Cats became one of those signs. As the years passed, the respect pirates had for their cats only grew stronger. Unlike many other animals brought aboard ships, cats earned their keep every single day. They weren't eating valuable food without giving anything back. Every rat they caught protected supplies that could feed the crew for weeks. Some captains even made sure their cats were fed before the rest of the crew. That wasn't because the pirates loved animals more than people. It was because they understood something simple. A healthy cat meant fewer rats. Fewer rats meant more food. And more food meant a better chance of making it home alive. It's one of the few times in history where a tiny animal could genuinely influence whether an entire voyage succeeded or failed. Not every pirate believed the same stories, of course. Pirates came from different countries, different cultures, and different backgrounds. One crew might swear that a black cat guaranteed good luck, while another believed it was a warning of bad things to come. Some believed the cat washing its face meant rain was on the way. Others claimed a cat staring out at the ocean meant land was nearby. Were any of these stories true? Probably not, but they reveal something fascinating about pirate life. Despite their fearsome reputation, pirates were just as superstitious as anyone else living hundreds of years ago. They carried lucky charms, they believed in ghosts, they feared curses, and they searched constantly for anything that might improve their chances of surviving another voyage. Cats simply became part of that world. Over time, their reputation spread far beyond pirate ships. Merchant vessels, naval warships, and fishing boats all continued bringing cats aboard for exactly the same reason. Even into the 20th century, many ships still kept official ship's cats to control rats before modern pest control became available. Some even became famous. One of the most well-known examples was a cat named Simon who served aboard the British warship HMS Amethyst in 1949. During a military conflict, Simon continued hunting rats despite being wounded in an attack. His efforts helped protect the crew's food supplies, and he became such a hero that he received the Dickin Medal, an award often called the animal equivalent of the Victoria Cross. Stories like Simon's remind us that the relationship between sailors and cats didn't end with pirates. It lasted for centuries. So, were pirates really obsessed with cats? In a way, yes. Not because they wanted cuddly companions to keep them company on lonely nights, but because those animals solved one of the biggest problems every ship faced. They protected food, they reduced damage, they gave frightened sailors confidence during dangerous voyages, and through years of strange coincidences and superstition, they became symbols of luck, survival, and hope. It's funny to think about. The same pirates who terrified entire coastlines, who fought naval ships, who searched for treasure, placed an incredible amount of trust in one small animal that spent most of its day sleeping in the sun. Sometimes history isn't just stranger than fiction, it's far more interesting. So the next time you see a cat lazily lying around your house, remember, hundreds of years ago, that same animal might have been one of the most valuable members of a pirate crew. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments what pirate myth should we uncover next. And if you want to learn more about the strange and surprising truths of pirate history, don't forget to subscribe. There are plenty more stories waiting to be discovered.